Hi everybody, I'm Mark from the game community team and we're joining Hearthstone game director Eric Dodds today. Hi Eric, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to be here.
Eric, can you tell us a little bit about what you get up to and what you are involved in with the development of Hearthstone?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a good question and sort of a big question. It's hard to answer in that, you know, I'm involved in going to meetings and hearing what the community is thinking and sort of being involved in that side of things. I'm involved in, hey, what are the big features that are coming up? What is the user interface going to look like? We're looking at a new set of cards and what are going to be the powers in those cards, and are those cards going to, slow down the game in any way, and is that a problem, or are they going to be too confusing, and in discussions about all of that sort of thing. So I'm sort of all over the place when working about the game. It's hard to really define it as any one thing.
Okay, so with ensuring the gameplay balance being a big part of your role, what is the process that Team 5 goes through when creating the new cards to unleash in Hearthstone?
So when we're creating a new card, we come at it from two different points of view. Sometimes when we're creating a card, like for instance, if we're creating one of the new dragon cards for Blackrock Mountain, we think about, well, we have this theme of dragons. What would be the right thing, the right type of card that would support that theme and that would let players sort of play in a way that would let them build these awesome new dragon decks, and we come up with a mechanic that way. Other times we come up with a mechanic because we're looking at the metagame as a whole, and we want to make sure that players have the ability to sort of own the metagame, which means we need to make sure that there are counters to all kinds of strategies. And not just the strategies that are powerful today, but potential strategies. I mean, often strategies that we don't even know if they're going to be powerful, but the players always surprise us with exciting new ways of building their decks. And I guess there's actually a third way, so I'll talk about this third way. The third type of card that we sort of create is cards where we're just sitting around talking about, wouldn't it be a crazy idea if, and we just throw an idea out there, and then some of those ideas are just so fun that we're like, well, I don't know if it fits into either of those categories, but we've got to put that in somehow anyway, because it's just so fun. And once we've created those cards, we hand them off to our balance team. And our balance team is a group of individuals who are very, very skilled, Hearthstone players. So they'd all be very highly ranked, legend Hearthstone players. So they're all very, very good at the game. And we hand them to them. They play these cards a whole bunch, and sometimes they'll come back to us and say, it wasn't all that fun. How can we change it to make it more fun? And sometimes they say, it was really fun, but we probably should knock some of those numbers down a little bit because it's going to be way too powerful if we put it out there. So we then make the changes they recommend, and then we put those cards out there into the environment, and that's sort of how we make a card.
Wow, that's an amazing process. Wow, that's so cool. Okay, so how did you find the introduction of Goblins versus Gnome cards affected the game of Hearthstone? Is it something that will evolve over time?
Yeah, it's something that will evolve over time, and even has been evolving. Even now, we've been seeing some new decks sort of drifting in and out of predominance on the ladder, and we sort of expect the game to be forever evolving. And one of the things that's great about that is it's sort of owned by the players, and the players we're giving the players the tools, and then the players are telling us with these tools, this is how we want to play. This is where the fun of this is. I guess talking about some of the specifics in Goblins versus Gnomes, one of the things that I was most excited about how sort of the metagame changed is that we have a bunch of cards in Goblins versus Gnomes that when they die, they put another minion in play, various piloted mechs. And what's interesting about those is sort of twofold. One is very often you want to clear the enemy board so that they sort of don't have any options. And that's very effective, but it's not quite as fun the way to play. But with these mechs, it's much harder to clear. And the second thing is these creatures that come into play, these minions that come into play when a mech dies, are very often random. And so what it means is, I've defeated your mech, and you're going to get a random minion in play, and I've then got to figure out how to deal with that minion. And because it's random, you see combinations that you might not normally expect to see. You'll go, well, I know how to deal with the normal 2-drops that players might play, but wow, what do I do about this situation? This is wholly new. And then the really skilled players can figure out, I'm in an unusual situation, but I know just the way to get out of it, and sort of can choose an unusual path to get out of it. So we're very excited about how Goblins and Gnomes has been evolving, based on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Are there any cards that have been used in a way that you didn't previously foresee, or even ways that have exceeded your expectations?
I would have to say that probably most cards have been used in ways that we haven't foreseen or exceeded our expectations. Really, that brings me to want to talk about story, because when we're creating cards, one of the things we talk about is this card going to be a story card? A card that, you're going to play a game, and after the game you're going to want to run over to your friend and say, you won't believe what just happened, this crazy thing just happened. And we as designers, we have no ability to know all of those different interactions. In fact, we love the fact that we don't know those interactions. I guess a specific story might be, there was a pro-level game that happened, and in this game, it was sort of a priest battling a mage, and the priest sort of had the game locked up. They were in pretty good shape, and it was sort of, late game, turn 8 or so, and they decided they were in good enough shape that, I'll just play a Millhouse Mana Storm card that, let their opponent's spells play for free on the very next turn. And their opponent then played the Archmage Antiditus spell, which says that whenever you play a spell, you put a Fireball, which is another spell, into your hand, and then that player played a 1-cost spell, which of course then cost 0 because his opponent had played Millhouse Mana Storm, and so he then drew a Fireball, which he played for free, and then drew another Fireball, and so on, and basically wiped out the priest player in a very unexpected way, and that's not something we ever would have expected to happen, based on when we made the card, but it's an amazing story that it did happen, and there's thousands of stories like that.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. With the recent announcement, we're excited to delve into the Blackrock depths. Introducing 31 new cards into the fray. Have you any specific cards, big question, that you're excited to finally see live on the boards?
One of them is certainly the Hungry Dragon, so it's a dragon card, and it sort of ties into this whole dragon theme we have for the set. And the reason it's fun is it costs 4, but it has 5 attack and 6 health, which is very powerful for sort of its cost, but it gives your opponent a random 1-cost minion. And very often when you're going to play that, you're going to want to, I'm going to play the Hungry Dragon, and I have another creature on the board that I should be able to handle that minion that's coming into play. But because it's random, you're not really going to know what you're getting yourself into, so I think there's going to be a lot of great stories, and that sort of ties back to the idea of story cards, and this is, I think, going to have a lot of fun stories. When you think you have it under control, you play it, you probably do, and then something unexpected happens, and then you go, okay, I'm going to have to think about it differently now. Love cards like that.
Cool.
I guess I should. I like a lot of the warrior cards, and so I should talk about a new warrior card, the Axeflinger, that we've added. And it's a card that whenever it takes damage, the opposing hero takes 2 points of damage. And so, I put out the Axeflinger, and my opponent is sort of in a bind at that point. Well, I could damage the Axeflinger to try to destroy it, but if I do, I'm taking damage while I do. How shall I maneuver around this new difficult situation? So that's going to be a pretty interesting card as well. But there's tons and tons of cards. It'd be hard for me to pick.
Sounds absolutely epic.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to that. Each expansion with Hearthstone has a theme. So with Goblins versus Gnome, the theme was unpredictability. With Curse and Naxxramas, it was death. And we kind of know now that Hearthstone is all about the dragons. So what would be one word to describe the feel of the Blackrock?
It's about dragons, and it's about enabling sort of huge dragon decks. Because up to now, you've been able to put dragons in your deck, and dragons are awesome, but you haven't been able to really build around them. And so with Blackrock Mountain, you're going to be able to have that awesome Alexstrasza or a Sarah or a Nixia card that's sort of a late game card. And then you're actually going to be able to have a number of other cards that build off of that. Cards that, when you play it, have an extra effect based on you having a dragon in your hand. So I've got a dragon in my hand, I play a Blackrock Technician, and it is more powerful because I'm holding that dragon in my hand. And it's fun partially because I get to build a deck around dragons, and it's partially because my opponent sees this card that comes out, it's more powerful, they know I have a dragon in my hand, so I've given some information away. Based on the metagame, they might be going, well, I think that it's probably this dragon or this dragon, so maybe I should change the way I play because I sort of think I know what's in your hand, but of course maybe I have something else and I'm sort of tricking you. So there's going to be a lot of interesting, psychological games that come out of that interaction of dragons, and that's going to be awesome.
Cool. That sounds awesome. And on that note, how do you expect BlackRock to affect the meta of the game?
Probably in a lot of ways that we could not possibly anticipate. I mean, we have our balanced guys, and we feel like we've got a set of really fun balanced cards, but the game itself is in the hands of the players. So we're putting a bunch of cards out there. They're going to be cards that allow these new dragon decks. They're going to be cards that allow you to counter specific metagame strategies, and there's going to be cards that don't fit into either of those categories that still change the game in really interesting ways. And the players are going to sort of build amazing decks and sort of tell us what are the awesome decks that come out of Blackrock Mountain. So I don't know, and that's the awesome part. You guys know, the players know, and that's amazing. I love it. I love it.
And finally, we've got one question that a lot of our game community want, because we've got a big community game, and we've got a lot of players who play very different games. But what would you give any new players wanting to get involved in Hearthstone for the very first time? What kind of insight or knowledge would you give them?
That's an interesting question, because I actually feel like our introductory experience is a really good way to learn how to play the game. So for a new player, if you just download the game and start to play it, our introductory experience will really teach you the basics. And then you can actually go online and jump into casual play mode, and it's going to match you against players who are also brand new players. So you'll be playing against someone, but you'll sort of be learning at the same time, and your opponent will be learning because you're learning, a few new tricks. And once you've sort of expanded past that point, you're like, okay, I kind of got this under control. I really want to play seriously now. If you have friends who play, that's also a great resource. In fact, there's sort of an observer mode built into Hearthstone. So you can fire up your friends list, click on it, the eyeball icon next to your friend. You're going to jump into their game and watch them play. And you can sort of chat back and forth with them and go, hey, why did you play that card right now? Oh, I get it. I shouldn't overbuild because, I'm worried about the mage playing a flame strike. And you can sort of learn with the help of a friend as well. So there's actually a ton of great ways to learn how to play the game once you're sort of, at the past that newer player moment. But really, again, for new players, just jump in and the game is going to teach you exactly what you need to know to play.
Epic stuff. Well, Eric, game community, thanks you so much for spending some time with us today and talking through. We're absolutely thrilled and excited to be delving into Blackrock Mountain very shortly. Can't wait to get hands-on with it. So thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
It's been great to be here. Thank you so much.
Have ye heard the rumblings? The mountain stirs once more. Beneath its crags, cliffs, and rocks, there's evil in its core. Fire made flesh, dragon's breath, teeth and claws and flame, calling any heroes out there that are brave.